Hasan, and some people have called him like the Joe Rogan of the left, or like a potential figure in that category. I was interested in your opinion because I don't know if you've commented on it yet, but obviously he just did this big debate with Ethan Klein of H3. He's been accused of anti-Semitism by Ethan, and Ethan has this whole like internet mob after him, including the likes of Destiny. It's gotten really ugly. This debate was a total shit show. It was like 6 hours of Hasan defending himself against bullshit accusations and smears. It was
Hasman was just saying Kanye's Hitler song was a refutation of cultural norms, by the way. Love where this country is going.
totally wild. I don't even think he should have participated in it, to be totally honest. But I was just wondering if you had any opinion on all of this that's happening. And as someone who's interviewed Hasan, and I know, had friendly relationship with him in the past and the present, do you?
This is my favorite type of commentary from people that go, you're obsessed with Asmongold. I can't wait till you're banned from this platform, being the gaping loose bumhole you are. And it's ironic because, like, I'm literally responding to a video he made about me where he placed himself in the conversation, claiming that, like, I was in direct contact. Like, look at the screen, chatter. Do you not understand what you are looking at visually? It's, bro, you make a video about him every day. Bro, I only respond to him talking about me. What the fuck? Don't yell. I mean, it's the stupidity of it all that caused me to yell a little bit, It's like, this guy is constantly talking about how I should be fucking banned and talking about how it was actually awesome that CBP came after me for fucking First Amendment protected speech, not realizing that will most likely impact him and his fans as well in a way that they won't enjoy it. And when I talk about it, it's like, well, he's the guy that says still more views than you. The left, maybe more libs, to be honest, than you tried to cancel deplatform people for the past 10 years. Now you don't think this is the reason for swinging the other way. The only real attacks against the First Amendment for the past 10 years, as in like the government actually making certain types of speech illegal and not like private platforms taking decisions, even though Asmongold will regularly complain about that as well. Like, this was another great example of this. Like Mudahar, rent-free Lamau. Hasan is the perfect definition of slop-producing, drama-chasing content creation. You can try to pretend to be above it because you cover politics. Funny how Asmongold's side channel beat out the top political streamer in his category, Lamau. Dudes would really be like, we need to get this guy deplatformed from Twitch and take away his livelihood because we don't like him or his opinions on Israel. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why is he talking about me? Rent-free Lamau. Also, the other side of this story is the notion that like Asmongold's side channel beating out the top political streamer in his category, you're presenting that as an own and not as a serious issue overall. Like, he is demonstrably not a knowledgeable person. Sometimes self-admittedly not a knowledgeable person on these issues. You might not like what I have to say, and you might entertain slop tubers who are also not knowledgeable on any of the issues I speak on, clipping shit out of context to be like, Hasan doesn't know what he's talking about. But I do know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I call myself a dumb himbo regularly, but I know more than Mudahar does. I know more than Asmongold does, Doesn't take much. The average person probably knows more than both of these individuals as well. But it is very funny where they will just like endlessly crank out content being like, this guy should be banned. He's a danger. He's a threat. He should be in prison. Only to turn around and be like, why are they talking about me? Why is he talking about me? It's like, yeah, I'm responding to your demands of me being deplatformed. You fucking moron.
You agree with me that it's total bullshit, this charge of anti-Semitism that's been leveled at him?
Oh, yeah, no. There's no way that Hasan is not an anti-Semite. There's no way. The thing that I can't wrap my mind around is that Ethan, on all the major points, Ethan will be like, yeah, I think Israel is committing a genocide. Yeah, I think it's fair to call the IDF terrorists. He'll concede on all of these major points, but then 98% of the conversation is some beef he had with some streamer that has like 5,000 subscribers or something, right? And it's like, why are we talking about any of that?
Oh, thank God.
Like, I understand.
I do like hearing like normal individuals who are well read on matters like this giving their take on shit like this, where it's like, I don't feel alone anymore, where I'm like, thank God. Because I think that there is a real, the online community, the online discourse sloptube community, this space is like somewhat insulated from serious criticism from people who are knowledgeable on the topics that they talk about with regular frequency. And because of that, they've created this echo chamber that is vast, where they've completely partitioned YouTube and Twitter, and even in certain instances, Twitch commentary away from prying eyes that would look at this for a second and go, what the fuck are you saying? Aren't you a weird simp lolly? What? The point is, a lot of these guys are elevating to their audiences like very dangerous groups. Dangerous groups like Honest Reporting, for example. This is actually something that I wanted to talk about. Did you see IDF confirm using Honest Reporting smears, an org which Ethan posted a few days ago to smear you? Just got one of, if not the most beloved journalists in Gaza, Hasan Esliye. Now they moved on to their next target, Hind Hudari, another Al Jazeera journalist. These are the type of orgs that Ethan and his fandom happily boost, but will tell you to your face to go to Gaza, nothing will happen. The same org killing Palestinians is smearing you too, and Ethan is boosting them. Yeah. Honest Reporting is a horrible, horrible organization that directly puts crosshairs on Palestinian journalists. And it's fucking insane that Ethan actually posted Honest Reporting on his fucking Instagram story. And then 2 days later, their reporting that had placed crosshairs on one of the most beloved photojournalists in Gaza, Hasan Esliye, was assassinated. They initially fired on his tent and burned him and permanently scarred him. And he was in a burn unit inside of the Nasser hospital in the Gaza Strip. And they fucking killed him in the hospital when he was in a hospital bed. That's what Israel did last night. They bombed yet another hospital. That is the stalwart ally of Palestinians, Ethan Klein. That is who he is elevating on his fucking Instagram posts. And then he has the audacity to claim that he is pro-Palestine to his dumb fuck audience. What? The fact that the genocide part, the third largest party, is calling for actively promoting it, and refugees offered due to land grabbing and the fear of being the new Zimbabwe. Are you at? Oh, dude, I have fucking chatters in here that are defending the white genocide happening in South Africa. It's like saying that that's actually happening in South Africa. Your discussions on the Middle East, I find informing since I don't know much about it, hence my lack of opinion on the matter. But your dismissal of what's going on in South Africa shows a lack of knowledge about the matter. No, my dismissal of what's going on in South Africa is because I'm not a fucking white supremacist. Hasan needs to be investigated by the FBI. Boo-hoo. Yeah. Hey, bitch, I'm a white South African. Tell me I'm being genocided. He said that their fears of turning into Zimbabwe when talking about, dude, he said there are real fears amongst white South Africans, okay, of turning South Africa into Zimbabwe. If you don't understand what that person's political position is here, okay, I don't know what to tell you. That's, okay. Where was I? Oh, here.
And that he takes it personally and he feels offended by people saying whatever. But like, if you are conceding that the core of the issue is there is a genocide currently being done against innocent Palestinians on a daily basis, they're being starved to death, they're being carpet bombed. We're talking minimum 50,000 dead Palestinians. The real number could be as high as 200,000, 90% of which are innocent civilians. Then to focus solely on your personal beef over things you felt were misconstrued about your opinion or whatever, that like, then you are taking your eye off the ball. You're no longer talking about.
This is precisely what I communicated to Ethan in our conversation as well, which I thought would at least like penetrate the consciousness of his audience, which I was wrong about. That it did not. They did not give a shit.
the main issue here. And it comes across as incredibly petty, incredibly vindictive, incredibly self-aggrandizing and unserious. And that's why you see these weird dividing lines now, where even though Ethan says, yeah, they're committing a genocide, well, all the people who are cheering for you in this whole debate thing, they don't seem to think it's a genocide. You're attracting a lot of the most psychotic Zionists in the country to cheerlead for your cause, because instead of talking about the actual genocide, the actual issue as such, you're talking about all these personal bones you have to pick with Hasan and calling him an anti-Semite and talking about other streamers that you think are unfair to you. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Nobody gives a fuck about your feelings. I'm sorry. Nobody cares. And look, I'm not just saying that about him. Nobody gives a fuck about my feelings. Nobody cares about your guys' feelings. Who cares about feelings?
Yeah.
What does that have anything to do with the fact that there's a fucking historic atrocity going on right in front of our eyes? And if we're going to have that conversation, let's have that conversation, right? Let's not get lost in the weeds of whether or not it was okay for Hasan to interview a guy that they say is a Houthi, but Hasan says is not a Houthi. That's, you're laundering the image of terrorism. Because functionally you end up bolstering the right-wing narrative and Trumpism at a moment when they are literally rounding up pro-Palestine protesters and locking them up. So
another point that I also raised with Ethan, once again, they got lost in the sauce.
Not talking about those things, you're fucking missing it, and you've lost your mind.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's completely beneath Hasan to entertain any of this nonsense.
I think you've also genuinely liked Ethan. That's the thing, is like, they actually had a friendship. They actually did a show together. I can sympathize with Hasan's perspective that he feels like, look, the guy I knew is still somewhere in there. I'm going to try to get that guy out. I'm going to do the best I can to get to that conclusion. I can sympathize with that because I went through that myself with that period when TYT hated me and Jimmy Dore hated me. And I'm out there trying to be the enlightened centrist in their feud. And like, I also thought, hey, if I just tell it like it is and I'm sympathetic, then I can get through to Jimmy. I can get through to TYT or whatever. And then, eventually what you found out, me in the case of Jimmy, him in the case with Ethan, is like, no, man, some people, you're just not going to fucking get through to them. It's just not going to happen. Doesn't matter how correct you are. Doesn't matter how factual you are. They're just going to go right back to their petty grievances.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, that's a great...
I think it's time to stop treating Ethan like someone who's lost his way, but is on the right side. He simply is not. No, I know that. I know that. I understand that. At this point, my goal is to at least, like, I don't even give a shit if his fan base leaves him or whatever. I just don't want them to constantly play a role, inadvertently or deliberately play a role in Hasbara. That's it. They're spreading a lot of dangerous misinformation while simultaneously assuming that they're also pro-Palestine. And this was a way for me to try to get them to question, like, wait, if Ethan and Hasan are in agreement, like, why the fuck does he care about all this petty shit? Like, he keeps trying to defend that by being like, well, you can believe two things at the same time. You can argue about two things at the same time. But it's like, your only commentary on the issue of Israel's genocide revolves around your own personal feelings and how wrong do you think you are by random content creators online that are actually advocating for Palestinian emancipation. That's it. And I do think that a lot of people in that back and forth perhaps changed their opinion a little bit. Like, there are still people in that community that are like, yeah, I'm pro-Palestine, but like, I don't really understand why other pro-Palestinian people that are my friends actually take issue with the way that I talk about this stuff. And it's because it's precisely because like they have been deluded into thinking that their commentary on this issue is actually on the side of Palestinians by someone that they like, their content creator, their favorite content creator being Ethan Klein.
Example specifically with Jimmy, because I think much like Jimmy and his need to smear you, with Ethan and his need to smear Hasan, it's all about the necessity to create drama, because that's what his channel thrives on. Drama with people from his past life as a co-host. Like, he did this with his other co-host. I don't even know who she is, but some lady named like Trisha or something who he did a show with. And then for years they went back and forth, and they turned on each other and created a bunch of drama out of that. So that's what Ethan's show sort of needs. It needs that drama to have a boogeyman to bash and to create this feud with an old friend and all this kind of stuff. Whereas Hasan clearly doesn't need that, which is why I don't think he should have engaged with it in the first place. But I really do think it's just all about the views. Ethan needs a villain. Ethan needs someone who's a big streamer to go after. The only thing that's crazy to me is how I guess, successful it's been. Like, it seems like a lot of people agree with Ethan. He has this huge fan base. I would think that everyone would just see it the way we see it. It's so obvious that this is being driven by petty ridiculousness, and it is completely, beneath everyone involved to be debating this crap instead of the actual issue at hand, which is so serious and so horrifying, right? Like, who cares about some stupid thumbnail that Frogan made or whatever the fuck, right? It's totally ridiculous.
I think it's like a sugar high, right? Like, oh, you're getting all these views because you're talking about this thing, which is drama that people are really interested in. But how are you gonna what are you gonna do in 6 months from now? What are you gonna do 2 years from now? Like, what's the focus of your content, right? Like, I know he used to be sort of like a.
I found it quite amusing that they yell at you for every slip up you have once every few streams where you say something extremely wild, e.g. America Deserve. But after that one debate, E's wife was like, oh, of course, E slips up at least once in a 6-hour convo talking about double standards. I mean, yeah.
Semi-comedian troll kind of guy, sort of like a Tom Green on YouTube type thing. Then he had like a normie type podcast where he just jokes around and shit and interviews people, right? Am I getting it right? Is that basically what
he's basically like he was like a OG kind of a YouTube style, right? React to something funny, dunk on it, create beefs with other YouTubers. Like, one time, like there's a bunch of weird videos of him like sitting around the table with like Post Malone before he blew up really big. Like, he's just always been in the world of like, I want to entertain you with my show more than politics, I would say, back in the day.
Yeah, so like what I would say is pick a fucking lane, bro. Are you going to talk politics or are you not going to talk politics? If you're going to talk politics, talk fucking politics. I don't care about a beef that I need to learn 36 hours of lore before I understand what the fuck you're saying. Like, I don't care about that stuff, and people shouldn't care about that stuff. But
I think a lot of content creators are underestimating that this is graduated from petty drama to relevant public manipulation. The issue isn't beneath you, even if it is petty. Not addressing this stuff is how Asmold gets a horde of dummies behind him. It's stupid discourse, sure, but I think it's irresponsible to just not engage with obvious misinformation. Yes. That's part of the reason why I'm forced to do it, even though I fucking despise doing it. Even though all the fucking slop tubers love when I actually get in the dirt with them and duke it out in the pigsty. But the unfortunate reality is that there are a shit ton. There are a shit ton of people that are completely uninformed about this stuff. And my job, the way I see it, like my purpose, my goal is to reach those people and hope that they can maintain some semblance of charitability so they can at least like find a new perspective. Okay. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to agree with me across the board, but as long as they're charitable and hear a different framework, a different way of looking at these issues instead of the steady garbage that they feed themselves, I think that there is an opportunity there to change their minds. Politics is now fully about personalities, Bernie versus Trump rather than democratic socialism versus fascism. It's how we as humans personify these movements. We either talk in the terms the masses are interacting with or we lose. Kind of. It's unfortunate, but I think that is a real problem right now. And I try to do my best to like manage it and not entertain the pigsty, the pig pen to the best of my ability. But the entire thing has become a pig pen. Everyone has become pigs. I've had to explain to a pro-Palestinian driven who watched H3 why what they were saying was pro-Israel propaganda because they kept repeating Ethan's points while talking about Palestine. Yeah. That chatter is 100% correct, but it's also why responses require such annoying and uncomfortable levels of sourcing and explaining the misinformation peddled by the likes of H3. If you don't know what bleach is or if you don't know what mass R-word campaign has as much evidence as 50 beheaded baby narrative, it's impossible to make clear to people how much of this is just nonsense. I know. And I try to bring evidence to each individual conversation like that, even though obviously it takes, as Noam Chomsky has famously said, it takes a minute to tell a lie, but it takes an hour to correct said lie. And I will take that hour every single time. One of the greatest examples of this is obviously my reaction to the first half of the context nuke that was Ethan's most important, most significant fucking video, right? He put that shit together for months, he said. And the sourcing on it was absolutely abysmal. It took me 8 hours and 51 minutes to react to the first 1 hour because I basically went through each individual complaint that he brought forward and showed expanded context on all of the clips. And I didn't even get to every single one, but I tried to do my very best to cover virtually every single clip that I thought was relevant and important to address. I try to do my very best to also just fundraise for an important cause as well. Another thing that he was trying to ruin, which was fundraising for charity. Going to be real, bro. Most people do not have the emotional intelligence to understand things from a left-wing perspective. It requires they become capable of putting themselves in the shoes of oppressed people. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to fucking stop. I'm not going to stop doing that because it's too difficult, okay? This is my whole job. I'm personally burnt down on it, but I won't deny our coverage is useful, even necessary. The H3 community having actual pro-Palestinian voice is a win on their broadcast, so you and Sam being on there was and is solid. It's just hard to watch because of Ethan. Yeah. And I don't know how much... those... Like, I don't know how... I don't know whether or not those efforts were futile or not. I don't know. But I'm sure there were plenty of people that were moved.
But there's also, you know, a pretty sizable Hasan hatred community, right? I mean,
That's
I know
what blows my mind. It just seems like
Hasan
he's so obviously the one in the right here.
well, Hasan and Destiny hate each other and have hated each other for a long time. I know Destiny's community hates Hasan. Hasan's community hates Destiny, and there's other, you know, ancillary players in the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, look, this is the downside of the internet, is that sometimes people can lose their minds in the sense that the petty vindictiveness is the thing that drives them. And so they're just looking for content about the people they hate, right? And,
Right.
and it becomes really, politics is ancillary to that. It's really got nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's effectively what's happening. But again, in the long term, like, what the fuck gets accomplished? Like, what's going to happen?
See, I stopped watching H3 after the Sam Cedar debate. Been a longtime fan of both him and you. There you go. There are people out there who have had their opinions challenged in the process, and due to people making reasonable arguments in the face of someone who is being incredibly unreasonable, like optically unreasonable, and petty, given how serious the situation is. Depending on the empathy that they can demonstrate, they've had their minds changed, and I think it's important because, like, if you don't give a fuck, if you simply see it as like putting a black square on your Instagram, right? If you look at, if your advocacy for Palestinians just revolves around saying that you're anti-genocide and that's it, but you don't actually give a fuck, you actually don't give a real fuck about the children that are being murdered on a daily fucking basis, then yeah, you can hyper focus on the drama aspect of it all. But there are still plenty of people who do actually care about this. That's why this needle has shifted so dramatically in the direction of Palestinians.
Happen? What are you still going to be talking about Hasan a year from now? Are you going to be talking about Hasan 2 years from now? Or are you going to pick the political lane and cover the news and give your opinion? Or are you going to go back to doing some like semi-comedy type shit? You got to pick a lane and you got to do it. But like, even from a personal perspective, bro, like, if you're engaging in this sort of shit, you got to feel horrible. Like, you got to feel like shit. Like, there's nothing fulfilling about arguing for 4 or 5 hours with somebody you used to be friends with about petty shit. Like, who cares?
That's what I'm saying, bro. Even as the drama channel, like, I was sitting there like, this is completely pointless. This is the opposite of productive. Nothing is being accomplished here. These people are not.
Your channel will fall like the Ottoman Empire did. Asman is tired of winning. Mal-Marxism detected. Mal-Marxism detected. Okay, don't ban guys like that. That guy's funny.
Not even like making amends or anything. It's just ugly. I did not enjoy it. I frankly couldn't stand watching that debate. I had to turn it off at a certain point. I had to like rage quit. It was just so uncomfortable. And again, we love drama over here. We don't shy away from that stuff at all.
Yeah. But you know, to your point, it's got to serve a broader purpose, right? There's got to be some core in there that's actually about politics or policy or morality, or, you know, it can't just be drama for the sake of drama or hatred for the sake of hatred. It's just, that really is like the worst of people, you know?
Yeah, and it seems like, you know, Hasan's kind of, you know, at least been effective in, you know, drumming up a lot of, you know, attention to these issues. And I wanted to get your perspective on the fact that he was actually detained for questioning when he got back from France. So he was in France for a few days interviewing the socialist over there for his main channel. And when he got back from Charles de Gaulle,
I used to not like you and would have been a perfect candidate for Ethan to convince me completely to hate you, but his obsession was too intense, and for the constant accusations made me come to your stream to find out the truth, and then I realized your worldview was very similar to mine, and I felt duped, lol. This happens a lot more than people think. This is precisely the reason why I do what I do, for the record. Because the greatest antidote The greatest antidote to vicious smears is for someone to take that journey, take that first step on their own. Not many people do this, but the ones who do will very quickly realize that they have been duped. Okay? That's it. You can only maintain this position if you just stay in your echo chamber and keep throwing pot shots from your echo chamber.
Landed in LAX, I believe. They stopped him for like 3 hours to ask him a bunch of questions about his personal politics. Now, Hasan is a U.S. citizen. I believe he was born in New Jersey, so he has every bit the rights of everyone else that would be listening to this podcast that was also born on U.S. soil, and they're still hounding him about his political beliefs, right? And he was talking about how technically, legally, he should be able to be like, hell yeah, I fuck with Hamas. Like, hell yeah, the Houthis are my boys. Like, and still be allowed admittance back into the country. But, you know, he shared that he was horrified, and he was like, yo, I'm just a peace activist. I'm a pacifist. I want, you know, the bloodshed to end. Is that something you've ever experienced as a high profile political commentator? And is that something that you're nervous about, given the fact that, you know, you have a relatively large public profile as well?
This is not an actually. It's an honest question. Is what you're doing working? You've been doing this for years, and in that time, things have only gotten worse. That's not a correlation. I'm just saying that's really working here. Yes, of course it's working, because throughout that fucking time frame, there was never... If you are aware of online communities and online spaces for political discourse, okay? If you are aware of online political communities and online discourse around politics in like 2014, 2015, when I was at the Young Turks, you would realize that there was nothing like what I do as an out and about leftist who is one of the largest content creators on the platform that I'm on currently. And yes, plenty of opinions have shifted in that time frame as well, Palestine being a very significant one. Okay, sure, but there was also nothing like Asmin. That's not true. No, as a matter of fact, there were a million Asmins. No, the only thing that's different from back then till now is the fact that there are actually some sizable leftist spaces online. Asmongold, not as popular in mainstream. Asmongold is not mainstream. He's just very popular, but very popular among extremely online people. But if you think Asmongold is doing something new, he is not reinventing the wheel at all. He's actually doing something that many commentary people have done, presenting themselves as like apolitical or centrist, and refusing to entertain nuance, and simultaneously and consistently engaging in thought-terminating cycles and thought-terminating terms. Tim Pool maintained the position that he was a liberal for years. Dave Rubin did the same. A lot of people do that, actually. It's a classic move.
I've never experienced it, but am I nervous about it? Yeah. Crystal and I have talked about this before, because when they're cracking down on pro-Palestine protesters, like, who are some of the loudest, most open anti-Israel, anti-genocide voices in the country, right? Like, I don't know if anybody's covered it. Like, the amount of hours I've done of detailed coverage of the genocide, right? And saying the things I've said. Netanyahu is a terrorist. Israel is a terrorist state. These people need to be locked up. We need to sanction, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it is a concern. And I think Hasan just got a little bit of a dose of the new America there, that these people, they don't care. Like, they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about due process. They don't care about what they're legally allowed to do or not allowed to do. They do something, and then the courts have to play catch up. And then the court might say something, and they could just fucking blow it off, which is what they've been doing. And so, yeah, I mean, in the position I'm in, and many of us are in, like, you'd be sort of crazy not to at least have the conversation about, hey, should we maybe rent a place that's not in the United States if the shit hits the fan? They've arrested judges. Now they've arrested the mayor of Newark, a Democratic politician. They've blown off a 9-0 Supreme Court ruling. We see the nightmare stories of these innocent people being locked in a gulag in El Salvador with no due process. I don't know what else they would have to do to make people sort of wake up and realize this can literally happen to any of us at any time. And so with Hasan in particular, I'm not surprised they did that. And in all seriousness, I mean, I know it sounds crazy to say this, but he should almost feel lucky that they didn't just fucking lock his ass up and deal with the consequences later. Like, if he were to be fucking disappeared, what would happen? We get the same sort of news coverage around Kilmar Abrego Garcia, but here we are today. Kilmar still hasn't been released, and they still got him locked up. And nobody.
He's not wrong. but it would be a severe escalation. It would be a severe escalation from the administration, because not only am I an American citizen born on U.S. soil, but I'm also an American citizen born on U.S. soil that has a public profile, a large public profile, which I think is the reason why the backlash would be far more intense. And I think the Trump administration knows that as well, for the record. I think they understand stuff like that. Part of the reason why the DHS actually chose to reply to this to say, oh, we didn't target him for his political opinions is for that reason, because they are worried about backlash if there is news coverage, more and more news coverage that comes out saying that this is a specific and deliberate targeting of people's political opinions. That will cause a lot more anger and resentment from the normies, average people that aren't paying close attention to what the fuck's going on. Does that make sense?
Nobody's fucking going down for it. And so this is where we're at now, guys. And this is why the both sides shit has to die. The false equivalent shit has to die. There is nothing held sacred for these people. They are out and out fascists. They're doing a robber baron coup. They are insane warmonger imperialists. And this is just the beginning. Hasan getting questioned and them pressing him on his politics, that is just the fucking beginning, bro. ICE is already in Tennessee. They parked on the highway and just started pulling over random people, and they took 100 and
He's right.
Deported them. And a lot of these people, by the way, are deputized into being ICE. So these are like random Proud Boys that are like, yeah, I'll round up some Mexicans for you. This is where we are, man. Like, this is where we are. And it's as bad as it is now, it's going to get way worse. And by the way, one more thing. Crystal and I are trying to have Hasan on, Crystal, Kyle, and friends this week to talk to him about what happened to him.
Oh, that'll be awesome. I'm very excited to.
That's an abrupt ending.